Okay, we're down at the shop today, and as you can see, we're at the rear of the Mazda today, and we're going to change the rear brake pads. Since the last video, I did go out and get a new set of tires, a set of Michelin's. When they took these tires off, we noticed some brake wear. Probably had maybe a few months left on the pads, which kind of surprised me. This Mazda has 52,000 miles. I just replaced the front, and the rears have actually kind of wore at an equal pace, which is, at least on the vehicles I've owned, is kind of unusual. Usually the rear pads last much longer than the front. But for what it's worth, on this particular on this Mazda 3, they seem to wear evenly, at least on mine. So we're going to get those replaced today, and it shouldn't take too long. It's not as bad as the front. The rotors look okay, so it should just be a pad replacement. We'll know for sure when we get into it. Anyway, stick around and we'll get to it. Okay, as mentioned before, 21mm sockets, what fits the lug nuts. Using a DeWalt impact to get these lugs off. One thing I'll mention about these Mazda rims, or most car rims, a lot of them actually stick out past the front of the car. Be real careful when you take that rim off that you don't let that rim fall, because it will damage the paint surface. One thing I've noticed on several other YouTube videos, they're mentioning a 13 or a 14mm on the brake caliper. This is a 2017 Mazda 3, and it actually they've been 13mm so far. So just keep that in mind to check, especially if you're doing this in your garage or in your front yard and your tools are far away. Could be a 13 or a 14. Mine in particular is a 13. Okay, I'm going to get you a better shot of the caliper just to give you a better idea. So I've tried to loosen both of these, and the whole retaining sliding pin is rotating on me. So I'm going to have to get another tool to come in, a wrench, and hold this while I try to get this bolt out. Okay, so what we're talking about here is there's a rubber boot on this slider pin, and there's a nut or a hex shaped grip area where you can actually grip this to keep this whole thing from rotating. And we're going to put the ratchet on this bolt while holding this nut face to get that unscrewed. Let me go grab a wrench and we'll get that pulled off. Okay, the first little annoyance, and this is mainly because I don't have the tool that I would like to have here, which would be a really thin wrench. I've checked all my little thin wrench sets, which are basically what I've gotten with other tools like grinders and things like that, that are just a little sheet metal wrench, and I don't have any of that size. So what I'm having to use is a pair of needle nose, and it's mainly because you can't actually, all the wrenches I have are actually too thick to fit between that little retaining lip and this piece of the caliper holder. So I'm basically holding this and then putting my ratchet on the back side and turning and getting it out. So one annoyance, mileage may vary, but I think to do this properly you really need a really thin set of wrenches. And that's the bolt. These do have blue Loctite, and I'll be replacing that blue Loctite when I put them back on. So more than likely the front did not have Loctite. These rears have Loctite, as you can see. And that's probably why you have to put a little more effort to capture that slider from turning. We're just going to work this caliper off here. Just be careful. Obviously there's a connector here on the back, so there's more than just the brake line, and there's not a lot of free space. So on mine I have a 3-notch caliper. These calipers, you actually do have to spin them, and I have never done these before on the Mazda, so I don't know if they're counterclockwise or clockwise. My caliper tool, if you've seen it in the past, it's a free rotating one, so it will push some of them in if they don't have a really steep angle on the rotation. But I actually have the right tool. I had to go pick up another one this morning. I think I bought like 3, and I always lose them by the time I do the next brake job. But so everything looks good there. The boot looks good. I'm gonna get this affixed here. You definitely don't want to let this hang or have any kind of tension on your parking brake system or your hose. But it will sit there, and we'll get these brake pads pulled out, and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so these wore a lot more than the front. There wasn't very much pad left. Okay, just a little warning. This is several hours later after I started this project. I actually ended up going to about 12 auto parts stores in 2 different counties to finally find the correct brake pads. The one that I got at O'Reilly's, I'm assuming was for the Mexico version of this vehicle or the Japanese, and this is a Japanese. I'm really not sure what they changed in 2017 or what the differences are, but the rear brake caliper on this car, it's a 2017 Mazda 3 made in Japan, has integrated springs on the brake pads, and if you get a box, and again, you're probably going to have to take it off to actually figure out which part you need. But just a good example of getting the right part, which is difficult. And for me, I'd already started the project and ended up spending about 2 more hours, I guess, trying to find the right part. But I'm just going to show you these here. So by integrated spring, I mean these 2 little springs are integrated onto the pad. The other kit, actually, the pad was a little bit different and actually had, like the front, had the pop-in springs, but they won't fit this caliper holder. Anyway, let me get started on this. I'm going to give you a comparison of these pads and the old ones, just to show you how much wear was on those pads. Okay, so we got our old pad here. You can kind of see it's pretty much wore all the way, almost all the way down the metal, so luckily I got these changed down in time. Those are the new ones. There's comparison side by side. Let me do a little focus adjustment here. So that's the new pad, and that's the old one. But anyway, we've got these sorted out, got the right springs, retainer springs on there. We're going to pop these new ones in. First we need to back the caliper up, and I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. I'm going to kind of cheat here and use the top of the brake pad to see if any of these patterns match. I have a bad feeling that they don't. So this tool has basically symmetrical, 2 or 4, and this has a triangular pattern on it. I'm going to check my OCT kit and see if, even though my caliper tool spins around, I could probably go up there and grab that with channel locks and turn it around if I can get something to bite into that caliper face. Let's see if we can find something that matches up. I don't see anything offhand. There are a couple here that have a single groove. Okay, so one of these may work. So in this kit, there's one of these that has a 3/8 inch drive. So if I can find one of these that actually will fit, I can use it, but it doesn't look like it actually has one. Okay, this is going to be the closest one that I have. So it has a single point. I'll try to catch one of those and spin this with a 3/8 inch drive to see if we can get that to screw in. So this is what contraption we've got rigged up here. We're going to try this and see if we can get this to turn. Slowly but surely. So the way this one's working, it's got a little lip here that catches on. You can kind of get that to bite into one of the connectors. I've got it turned maybe a quarter of a turn. Okay, I'm about another, I don't know, 30 minutes in. I just wanted to mention, I think I was wrong when I described you don't necessarily put these in the way, you can't put them in the way that they were in stock just by going by the rivets. The outer pad, again outer facing you, the rivets need to be, the pad that has the rivets in the near center need to go on the outside, and the rivets that are on the outer need to go on the inside. Otherwise you'll actually end up hitting the caliper will hit these rivets, and the catch on the caliper on the outside will actually hit these outer rivets here. So pay attention when you're putting these things on. Pretty big struggle. I really wish that I had. One thing that's taken a really long time is getting that caliper compressed, because I just simply don't have the exact tool. Really what I need is something with that triangular pattern and a drive tool that actually will spin without having to use the ratchet. But anyway, getting it done. I've got the caliper back in. I'm going to go grab some Loctite real quick, and we're going to Loctite these bolts and put those back in. Put a little blue Loctite on these, same place that they were before. Get these screwed in. One thing I wanted to mention, I don't know what the size is, but on these 14mm bolts on the slide rail, there's also, appears to be a Torx bit. I probably won't use it, but they may help you out. I don't have the best light back here, so I didn't notice it when I first removed them, but that may help some folks out. Okay, remember when I said I wasn't going to use that Torx? That was a lie. It's a T45. It's way easier to torque those bolts with a torque wrench. 20 foot-pounds with the Torx. Okay, so we got this done. Rotated the tire around to make sure nothing unusual other than the brakes have not settled yet. So the pad is rubbing up against the rotor. Nothing super major. Anyway, hope that helps some folks out. Again, the challenge of this project is finding the right part. The rear calipers is something I've never seen before, the triangular pattern rather than the symmetrical pattern. It may save you some time if you know it's ahead of you. You can kind of prepare and maybe get something off Amazon or something. I know they make bigger brake kits that have that direct drive that have more attachments, but I was able to do it with a basic one, and this should be it for the video. Anyway, I hope it helps some folks out, and we'll see you on the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.